All right, welcome back. It's episode 196 of Catfish on Ice. We are up and we're alive, Rich. I'm not out of power.
Not yet. Hopefully not.
Mother Nature has spared the Tampa Bay area, at least for now, with Hurricane Idalia. What a name to come up with for a hurricane.
That's a weird name.
It's a pretty name. I think it's a pretty name. But the storm is not so pretty, but usually hurricanes aren't. But, I've been prepping for this hurricane for basically the past 4 or 5 days. So I am definitely been indoctrinated as a Floridian officially.
There you go. Yep. You went from Nashville Tornado Alley to Florida Hurricane Alley. It's crazy.
The official joke around here is that you're not a Floridian unless you go through a hurricane.
That makes sense. There's a lot of things in Florida, man. Heat, alligators, hurricanes.
Crazy Florida man. You got to watch out for Florida man.
Crazy Florida man.
Which is absolutely a real thing. That's a real thing. Florida man is multiplying. Like, they're everywhere. Just generalized term, Florida man. Put it in the headline. But happy to have you here, Rich. Happy we can get this live portion of the episode up. We didn't want to promote it too much because we weren't sure if we were going to be able to make it happen. But here we are. We're a day late. We were going to do it yesterday, and just blame me. Actually, don't blame me. Blame Spectrum, which is the internet service I get down here. And they just decided, a hurricane's approaching in 24 hours. We're going to shut off the internet.
Yeah, that makes
weird.
Sense. That makes sense.
But we're here.
We're here.
I already got the intro of episode 196 on the YouTube channel. If you listen to our podcast every day on the audio version and you're not on YouTube yet, go check out the YouTube channel. We got it in the episode description below if you're listening right now. And you can subscribe to the channel, and we put out new content before the full episode drops all the time. We're going to be doing that during the upcoming season. And so make sure you do that. Rich, how are you doing up in Kentucky, man? Hopefully no hurricanes.
There's never a hurricane. That's one good thing. Don't have to worry about that. But, other than it being, 1,000 degrees here last week, other than that, it cooled off. Yeah, it cooled off Friday night. It was felt like 115, and then it dropped like 20 degrees because of the rain that came in. So
there you go.
This daggone weather, man. It's weather.
Weather. I do find hurricanes very fascinating. I've been nerding out since I've lived here just to learn the science behind it, and found some good accounts down here to follow that really devote their lives to following hurricanes. And they save a lot of lives actually by doing what they do. Sure. So, it's been definitely a learning experience living here for the past year. Learning about hurricanes and taking them seriously, obviously. But I'm very happy to be here to do this episode with you all. Love all of you.
Sure.
So in the intro, Rich, it's already up on YouTube. I did my own Predators starting lineup, preferred for me. Didn't call it a prediction, but just what I prefer. And I'm going to share that a little bit later with you.
Yep.
But the first thing we're going to do now that Rich is in the episode with us live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube right now.
Yep.
We are going to dissect the first 10 games for the Predators because guess what? It's all about how do you break out of the gate. And I think I'm going to ask you this first. I want to get your thoughts on it, but I want to ask you, do you kind of feel the same way as me? I feel like this team's probably going to stub their toe a little bit out of the gate, and they're going to have to recover a little bit. What about you?
I do feel that way looking at the schedule. It's rough already. I mean, it starts off rough. I mean, Tampa Bay, Boston, Edmonton, New York, Toronto, huge names, huge teams. They're going to have to be on their A game really quick, I think, or like you said, they're going to be starting the season off from behind. Absolutely.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, starting at Tampa Bay is very, very, very difficult. That is a tough way to start the season. And I know we perceive Tampa Bay as being down this year, But that is a tough one. Finally, it loaded. So, so there's the first 10 games of the season right there for you to see. And, let's look at October 10th, the game I am going to be at because obviously it's in my neck of the woods now. And at Tampa, that's really going to test you because you're on the road. I know that fan base in Amalie Arena, they are rabid. They're crazy.
Yes,
they love their team. They're a little bit spoiled, I would say, because they went to 3 straight cup finals and won 2 of them.
Yep, that's true.
And going up against Andre Vasilevsky, the big what's the joke we make about? Yeah, the Pillsbury Doughboy man.
Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, yeah.
Something really scares me about that opening game for the Predators standpoint. I feel like Vasilevsky is just going to be a blob that doesn't let anything get in.
As he always is for the most part.
He had a down year last year, though. He didn't look like the undisputed best goaltender in the world last year.
No.
That might be a little bit of a hot take for me.
But he definitely some teams figured him out. I know they were talking on a couple of the broadcasts I watched that like he was struggling. I think it was like if they go top shelf glove side, he has a hard time with that, but he's still, NHL just ranked him like number 1 and top 10 goalies.
Oh, we can share that later too. Yeah, we can get your thought. Yeah, I saw that. NHL, that's basically what they do during the offseason is they pump out all these lists and get our thoughts on it or whatever. Gets people talking. But all right, let's break down this list this first 10 games a little bit more. So after Tampa, you come home, you open the season against the Seattle Kraken, which is no walk in the park either, Rich.
No, that didn't pan out last year either. When Seattle's first game, or was it? That wasn't their first game. That was not last year. That was the year before, right? Yes, year before. Yeah, well, they beat him. It was. Yeah, they beat him at home. Predators lost to Seattle's very first NHL game ever. But yeah, Seattle is definitely no slouch for sure.
So that would have been the year before last when they were an expansion team.
Last year, yeah.
These years fly by, man, because I didn't even seem that long ago. But yeah, no slouch there. Seattle, they're deep. They don't necessarily have a elite superstar anywhere on the lineup, but they're deep. Their forward lines are deep. Yeah. They play the game the right way. They play fundamentally sound. So, we'll see how that goes. And then you go to Boston, which I feel like I know a lot of people are saying Boston's not going to be the President's Trophy team this year. They're going to have some struggles, but that's another really, really difficult road game. No road game's easy in the NHL unless you play at the Arizona State Sun Devils, otherwise known as the Mullet Arena, or maybe when you play at San Jose. Maybe when you play at San Jose, which is more like a library than a road hockey game. But sorry if you're a San Jose fan. But for the most part, no road game is easy in the NHL. But, man, your first 2 road games of the season are at Tampa, at Boston. Yeah. That's tough.
That is a little tough. Boston, they lost some guys that contributed to that President's Trophy run last year, but you still can't count them out. They have David Pastrnak. They have Linus Ullmark, Brad Marchand. They'll be fine. They won't be like last year, though. I don't think so. But that is a tough place to play.
So that's your first 3 games there. When I'm looking at it from my perspective, just being a very objective fan and also, covering the team as well, I kind of hope they just take one of those 3.
Right.
I know that's being a little bit glass half empty, but
out of those 3, Seattle's probably the one if there's going to be any that they could take. But tough. All 3 of them are tough.
Then they play at Edmonton, or they welcome Edmonton at home. So that's tough. And then you play the New York Rangers. So your first 5 is really like a gauntlet in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And then you have to figure it out from there. So what worries you about this whole scenario is that somehow the Predators stumble out of the gate and they have a hard time working in this new roster. I'm gonna get your thoughts more, Rich, on my starting lineup that I think is gonna be around. And it's gonna be a lot of line mates getting to know each other again.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to really think, okay, you're playing against some established teams here, especially the Oilers, the Rangers, the Bruins, even though they've gone through some changes, definitely the Kraken. These are established teams. They have their identities already. They know who they are. The Predators don't know who they are yet. They know who they want to be, but they don't know who they are yet.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Like you said, if they can get 2 out of those 5 would be just good. But this training camp and preseason are going to be huge. They're going to have to go really quick.
For sure. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about that here coming up too, to round out episode 196. We're going to talk about some preseason spot players who really have the most to gain and prove in the preseason, because I think it's one of the most exciting preseasons we're going to be able to watch in a while. And then we're going to touch on that for sure. But so after you get through that first 5, you get a little bit of a break. You never really have a break.
Not really a break.
Then you get you get a 3-game homestand. You get San Jose, Vancouver, and Toronto.
Oof.
Really hope if you go into that San Jose game 0-5, God forbid, I don't think they'll be that. I don't think it'll be that bad. But if they do, how patient are these fans going to be? All these fans who never had patience with John Hines, they never had patience with David, which I wouldn't expect you to have patience with David Poile. He was the only general manager in this ever in this team's history. But definitely there was a segment of the fan base that never had patience with John Hines.
Yeah.
For better or worse. So are you going to be patient if this team goes 1-4 through those first 5 games we just looked at?
I'm going to be patient.
I don't know.
But the fan base probably will not be patient. They have very long memories and short fuses when it comes to the Predators. So we'll just have to see. 1-4, man, that would be brutal. I don't even like to think about that, but it is early in the season. It takes some time for guys to gel. So what are you going to do?
They welcome Toronto on October 28th to Bridgestone Arena. Then they have 2 early season rematches against Vancouver and Seattle, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
so we'll see pretty early on how this coaching staff led by Andrew Burnett, we'll see pretty early on how quickly this coaching staff makes adjustments on the fly.
Yeah. Toronto,
so
get to see.
I'm going to put you on the spot right now, Rich.
All right.
What do you think would be considered a win for the Predators in their first 10 games win-loss record? You can include overtime losses. What would you look at it and be like, that's a success that they came out of the first 10 with this record?
I want to say 5-5, but I think 4-6 wouldn't be too bad. I mean, it's not optimal, but it's a new team. You got to give them a little bit of space and a chance. So,
yeah, I'm gonna say 4-2. I know I'm being a little bit more detailed there. Okay. Yeah, if you can get 10 points in your first 10 games through that schedule, pull off, like maybe gut out some overtime losses against teams that maybe are better than you, but you eke out a point at least. I could see that. I would love to see that against a team like the Rangers, maybe, or maybe you can eke out a point against Toronto. But just figure out a way to get a point, at least. I know we don't ever like to lose, but get a point, and then obviously take care of business against some teams you should probably beat, San Jose being one of them, obviously. But, yeah, I mean, that's a tough first 10 games, and it's going to test this team early on. And we'll see how it goes. No back-to-backs, so it'll be really intriguing to see when Kevin Lankinen gets a start in those first 10, since there's no back-to-backs.
Probably never.
But maybe Andrew Burnett has a different philosophy on that.
That's true. Yeah, I'm thinking about.
We don't know.
That's true.
Like we don't know how Andrew Burnett's going to look at it in terms of just throwing. We don't want to throw Saros 10 of 10 starts right off the bat necessarily. We would love to see some trust shown in Lankinen possibly. I mean, you did re-sign him. You did go through the trouble of bringing him back for another season. So hopefully you'd feel comfortable enough to use him. I would say maybe twice in those first 10 games you would want to start him.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe.
I was going to say real quick, Mike Twitter is in here. We haven't talked to him in a while. He says, I guess I'll be patient. He says 6 of 10.
6 of 10 wins?
That's what he said.
That's really optimistic. I would take that and run with it if that happened.
And then without our San Jose wins, what would our start to last season be? That's true.
Ooh, that's a good point. We do not get to start this season playing San Jose twice.
No, man, that was
instead we get Tampa and Seattle. We get Tampa and Seattle instead of San Jose twice.
Last season was
that's tough.
Crazy start to the season, that's for sure. Our friend Liz is here as well. Hello, Liz. 10 points, first 10 games is good. I'm more concerned about the quality of the losses, though. Don't want to see them fall apart and lose against a team they should have no trouble beating. Absolutely.
That's where I'm at.
Yep.
I would love.
I feel the same way.
10 points in the first 10 would be really, really good. I know that sounds mediocre and we should strive to be the best and all that stuff. But
you just don't know.
You don't know.
New team, brand new day.
We'll see how it goes. It's a long season. It's just 10 of the first 82, but we're always focused on how this team opens. And right. All right, guys, before we move on in this episode, we want to throw love to we already threw love to DraftKings on the YouTube channel, but of course we have a new college football offer for DraftKings right now. So we want you to go check on that. We're going to tell you about Raycon again. Raycon wireless earbuds and also speakers. Great for hanging out during the summertime, hanging out by the pool when there's not a hurricane happening, mind you. But yeah, great time to have fun with Raycon wireless speakers, earbuds, all of their great products right now. Even if you're not going on vacation, summer's all about a vacation state of mind, whether I want to listen to my favorite artist or my favorite song of the summer. I'm an old soul. I still listen to classic and grunge rock of the 90s like it just came out yesterday.
That's okay. That's good stuff.
So just give me some Stone Temple Pilots or some Pearl Jam or some any of those great bands that came up and changed music. I can listen to it like it just came out yesterday. Raycons are perfect for that as well. You don't have to listen to the song that just came out yesterday. You don't have to be a Swiftie. You know what a Swiftie is, right, Rich?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
You don't have to be a Swiftie to enjoy your wireless earbuds.
I don't think you have to worry about that.
That's what I'm getting at.
No Swiftie.
So with that, you can listen to it on repeat or just need to retreat inside my own head for a bit. I love creating my own summer soundtrack by popping in my Raycon wireless earbuds. There's so much going on all summer. Sometimes you need some upbeat music to pump you up before you see people or to stay calm with some guided meditation. I do that sometimes. My biggest thing with my Raycon earbuds is the gym playlist for sure. I got to get if I'm going to get out there and get motivated and move my body around and force my body to do some exercise, I need a good playlist.
Yeah.
And that's where the Raycons come in for me, but they can come in with you for different reasons. Whether it's a playlist to get you excited for an upcoming party or concert, whatever it is, Raycons are there for you. Let me tell you right now, Raycons are the best way to listen. Use earbud tap functions to toggle between 3 customizable sound profiles, noise isolation, and awareness mode. Raycons have a 32-hour battery life, including 8 hours of playtime, so you can listen to what you want, when you want, for a really long time. They come with custom gel tips for the most comfortable in-ear fit. They start at half the price of the premium audio brands, but they sound just as good. You won't see a difference at all, and for half the price. And Raycons come with a 30-day happiness guarantee, so you really can't lose. Create your own soundtrack with Raycon right now. Catfish on Ice podcast listeners can get 15% off their Raycon order at buyraycon.com/THPN. That's buyraycon.com/THPN to save 15%. Buyraycon.com/THPN. There you have it.
Well, you listen
Thank
to
you,
it again. You listen to some Slayer.
That's a little too heavy for me. No,
Yeah.
I listen to some stuff that, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I do listen to some electronic and industrialized type music, some beats,
like some
stuff that doesn't even have lyrics, just anything that kind of
Rammstein.
Rammstein's a classic.
Yeah.
That's a good gym playlist. If you're including Rammstein into your gym playlist, you'll be just fine.
Yeah.
For sure.
Get you all pumped up.
Let's move on here. Episode 196. Rich, I got to ask you about my lineup, my predicted Pred starting lineup. Once I can get it loaded here, I'll put it on the screen to remind people on the live stream. It's already on YouTube right now. If you haven't watched it yet, you need to go listen. But until then, Rich, let me share my top line first. And I think you already know where I'm going with this.
Can figure this one out, but go ahead.
But I think there's still a lot to be determined in preseason and also, of course, in training camp when it comes to figuring out if indeed this player is going to get top line duty, and that is Luke Evangelista, of course.
Yeah,
so
I like it.
My preferred top line is Luke Evangelista, but let's say, I'm going to ask you hypothetically, Rich, because we have to figure this out. Let's say that Luke Evangelista, for whatever reason, does not give the coaching staff enough to feel confident in putting that type of pressure on him right off the bat. Who would be your other top line winger to play with Philip Forsberg and Ryan O'Reilly, who we feel pretty confident are going to be on the top line?
Ooh, man,
who do you put up there? That's a dilemma. That's a dilemma.
That is a big dilemma looking at it. First off, you're probably going to have to make one of these centers play a wing because there's so many of them. Man, yeah, you're right. That's a hard choice because I don't know.
So I threw in two players. I
got nothing.
I threw in two players that can be your backup plan if for some reason you just don't feel comfortable putting Luke Evangelista in that role right out of the gate at least. And one player in particular is not going to be popular, and I hope it doesn't happen, but all else fails, the coaching staff might go with experience on their whole entire top line, and they might go with Gustav Nyquist.
Okay. Yeah.
They might just literally decide, you know what, we're just going to stick with the top line and feel good with it about that. What do you think? It could happen.
It could happen. Yeah, I mean that's a possibility. Man.
I think the only way that happens though is if for like Luke Evangelista just has a really shaky performance,
which
that just like scares the coaching staff, and they're like, you know what, we need to pump the brakes here. We don't want to ruin his confidence. I don't think that's going to happen, but it could happen.
Yeah, I don't know. Just watching him play last season, he seemed like a pretty confident dude, and he was going up against some big names, and he performed well. So it would have to be something catastrophic for that to happen. But out of everybody, he's one of the most exciting players that I'm really excited to watch this year and see how he progresses for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So we hope that it's Luke Evangelista. It could be Gustav Nyquist. It could also be Philip Tomasino.
That's what, I was thinking that as well. He's done that before. He's been up there before. So
if we want to tie in, because we also are going to say preseason players that have the most to gain, let's go ahead and throw Philip Tomasino's name in the ring here. He absolutely has a lot to gain in this preseason. I think he could actually earn top line duties if he has a really dominant preseason. And here's one thing that Evangelista has going over both, at least what he has going over Evangelista. Tomasino does have a considerable amount of more experience. He's going into his third NHL season. Evangelista is not even really, he's basically going into his first real rookie season.
Yeah,
a lot of pressure on that kid. I know he has all the talent, but that's a lot of pressure. So let me put up, we're going to put it up there for everyone to see.
I like
There's
that.
My
line.
complete. Rich, I need your thoughts on this now that I finally got it loaded here. This is my preferred. This isn't what I'm predicting. This is my preferred starting forward lines to go on October 10th against the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'll be in Tampa at Amalie Arena, rocking my Preds jersey. I'll try not to get beat up by anybody. We just talked about the first line. You see Evangelista in there for me. Second line. How do you feel? What are your thoughts on it, Rich?
I love it. I love it. I'm hoping that Tomasino, like we talked about, could have a good enough year to warrant being on that second line. But, Juuso Parson is going to want to come out guns blazing because he didn't get to play in the majority of the end of the season. Cody Glass looked awesome. The X factor is Tomasino for sure. He's going to have a really good preseason in camp.
I want to give a shout out to Lindsay real quick. Thank you so much for the good vibes, Lindsay. All safe here in the Tampa Bay area. The Hurricane Idalia is shifting east or west, I should say, a little bit out in the Gulf of Mexico. I'm not a meteorologist. I don't even sound like one, but it is out there a little far. So we definitely dodged a bullet, but keep everyone in the upper northern part of Florida towards Tallahassee area in your thoughts, and send them all the prayers and good vibes and everything you can to those people, because they're going to get hit hard. And if we do have listeners out there, we're thinking about you, and we hope that you've gotten to safety, and that maybe you can break up the tough times the last couple of days and have some fun talking some hockey with us.
Yeah.
But you're definitely in our thoughts here, but definitely safe where I am. Very blessed and very fortunate to be on this podcast tonight and doing things with you guys like this, because this is the highlight of my week for sure right here. Let's get Lindsay. Lindsay also gets on here and said, is there any prospect that would be fighting for a spot on the Preds this training camp? What a great question.
I can think of one right off the bat, Igor Afanasyev.
Yes.
He's the number one, probably. Yeah.
Thank you, Lindsay, for that question, because that's a great question. That's a perfect question. So you see Igor Afanasyev down there on my fourth line. Let's go in order here chronologically, but we're going to get to Igor Afanasyev and my thinking on that.
Yep.
But I think Juuso Parson, to go back to looking at the top six and rounding out that part of the lineup, with my preferred starting lineup, first of all, there's a good chance that my preferred lineup doesn't happen in game one, because I'm sure the coaching staff's going to be very pressed to somehow figure out a way to get Gustav Nyquist in the top six, because he is a veteran. He has a lot of experience. He's been there, done that. And you might want to ease in to the season with a veteran up there, just because you're game one. And we really are right now. What we're doing is we're talking about the game, that we're not talking about what we think is going to be like the entire season. Obviously, we know that that's never the case.
No.
But I'm just talking about to open the season, to come out of the gate, guns blazing. What do we want to go with? Take some chances maybe with some younger players. And that's kind of what my lineup shows you. It's pretty clear that I've got a big investment in giving the young guys some chances, with Tomasino in the top six, with Evangelista on the top line, with Parsonen holding on. Your second line is basically a kid line.
It is.
I mean, I will say that Cody Glass should probably begin to move away from being considered, quote unquote, a young player. He still is young, but he's he's starting to get into that mid-tier of his career where maybe you can move him out of that distinction. But still, that's a very inexperienced second line there to roll out in the first game of the season, especially in Tampa.
Yeah, if it's these guys, I could see them switching Nyquist and Tomasino for sure, just to get some experience on that second line. But the youth aspect of it is pleasing as well, though. I mean, that's what got them through the end of last season. So they need to definitely look at that.
So I think that's definitely a training camp battle to watch. There is Tomasino and Nyquist. Seeing, Nyquist is obviously the veteran who's been there, done that, so he doesn't have as much to prove. I don't think Tomasino necessarily has as much to prove, but we have to remember, this is a new coaching staff. This is a new head coach.
Yeah.
So we don't know how he's going to look at things. We have no idea. That's why the preseason is going to be way more entertaining than maybe a preseason we've seen in a long time for the Predators.
Yeah, I agree. Not only a new coach and coaching staff, but a new general manager who has pretty big expectations of how he wants this team to perform, and a new ownership group that's going to be coming in that are going to be wanting them to perform as well. So I think it's a pivotal season for the Predators. So
for sure. And then let's move down to the third line there. So here's the thing. I feel yeah, but that's his role. He knows it. I don't think it's a bad thing. He wears it like a badge of honor, I think. Because that's still an important role. But let's get to the third line real quick, because there's some weird things going on with the third line with me. Here's the thing. I'm kind of like battling with myself because we just talked about Nyquist, Tomasino. How do you swap those players? If Tomasino ends up on the third line, as much as I would like to see him in the top 6, because I want to inject the youth into this team, if Tomasino ends up on the third line and Nyquist ends up on the second line, I actually might like it just as much, because think about it. Tomasino and Novak have chemistry with each other. Yep. They can feed off each other. If you suddenly have a third line that can produce offense for you, and you have Yakov Trenin, who definitely needs to be coming into this season with a chip on his shoulder, because he's going to be an unrestricted free agent in the offseason of 2024. And I've already been I wrote an article about it on Predlines recently. Trenin might not be on this team past at this time next year. I'm not sure he's on this team.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. He's had his moments, but he's also not had some moments. So yeah. I could see that.
He's 1.7 million on the books right now per year, which is very cheap, but you're going to expect him as an unrestricted free agent to want at least a little bit of a raise. And are the Predators going to be willing to give that to him if he has another very, I don't want to say awful year, but just a very mid-level? Yeah. Can you justify giving him a raise and giving him like another 2-year deal? I think that there's a good chance that the Predators let Trenin test the open market in the offseason of 2024, or maybe even trade him at some point. It could happen.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, like I said, he had some moments. He's played well from time to time, and then he's had not great stretches before too. But yeah, if he's going to be wanting a raise, and maybe that'll motivate him to play harder next season, because he will be an unrestricted free agent, and he'll want, if he's not going to stay with the Predators, he's going to want to go somewhere. So this will be his year to shine. To try to get a raise with Nashville or move on to someone else who will pay him some more money. So
for sure. But I will say, I do like the probability of a Tomasino, Novak, Trenin third line. That line could produce some offense for you. It can give you some goals. It could be a part of the remedy of pulling this Predators team from being one of the worst offensive teams to, at the very least, being a top half of the league in scoring. Show some improvements. If you can get some third line scoring That looks good. I feel good about it. And then let's get to that fourth line. We've already had some good comments here talking about Igor Afanasyev. So let's get to Igor Afanasyev. Let's get to it and talk about why I have him in there. First of all, hey, Nikki, it's good to have you in here. Very glad to have you. Mike Twitter says, I love Trennan. I think a lot of us love Trennan. We love his passion. We love his energy. We definitely don't want to lose him, but it's a business. It's a numbers game. And just like I feel about Dante Fabro on the defensive side of things, it's a numbers game for Trennan as well. And I don't know how much room's left for him. Yeah. Let's talk about this fourth line here. So Igor Afanasyev, this is a little bit of a hot take here for me. I think out of any player on this roster, Igor Afanasyev has the most to gain by how he performs in preseason.
100%. Training camp and preseason are going to be huge for him. He got very close to making the team last season. Everybody watched the little mini documentary and saw the look of heartbreak on his face when he was told he's going to go back to Milwaukee. So I think he's going to use that as fuel to do even better, and hopefully it'll happen for him.
Yeah. It's going to be tough for him to get in there because if you look at my current fourth line, you're probably already going through your head thinking, okay, well, who's left out now? Well, that means oh man, the most popular Preds player that's never scored more than a couple goals in his career in the history of the Predators, Cole Smith. Is not in my starting lineup. Shocker of all shockers, right?
Yep.
Cole Smith, the guy is the Energizer Bunny. The dude is a workhorse. You respect the hustle, you respect the grind. But that dude could shoot 500 shots and he might not score a goal.
Yeah. He just got a raw deal because of the timing when he got brought on to the Predators. It made everybody salty.
Yeah. And I really hate to say it, but I don't know how Cole Smith is going to survive in a system that's no longer a John Hines system.
That's true. You're right.
A Cole Smith can survive in a John Hines system because a John Hines system is predicated on that, guys like that.
Yep.
I mean, it remains to be seen, but I don't know if an Andrew Brunette's system is going to predicate itself so much on the Cole Smiths of the world. It's going to predicate itself more on the Igor Afanasyevs of the world, and dare I throw in Dennis Garyanov also on my fourth line. You don't go out and sign him in free agency to not give him a chance unless he's just completely awful. Then maybe he's a scratch. But I think unless he's awful in preseason and just completely awful, then you're rolling out Dennis Garyanov in the season opener and you want to see what he can do. You're hoping that you can untap that potential that he has, that we know he has, but just ask Dallas Stars fans this. All you got to do is have a friendly conversation with the Dallas Stars fan, and they will tell you, Dennis Garyanov, such a disappointment, such a letdown, but the dude's got all the talent.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Somebody else who moved up and down last year, Michael McCarron, I'm not sure if he's going to do well in this new.
He's starting in Milwaukee.
He will, obviously, yeah, for sure. But I mean, he did spend a lot of time in Nashville,
and he's not bad. He's not a bad player. He's not a bad player to have at your disposal if you're going through injuries and you need to start somebody. Let's say you have a couple injuries hit you out of nowhere, and you need guys to have maintenance days. Yeah. Then you can trust Michael McCarron to get you some starts.
You can,
but I don't feel I'm not crazy about Michael McCarron being an everyday starter. I'm just not.
Yeah. No, definitely not. But I just don't know how well he'll do.
I'm definitely not comfortable. I'm definitely not comfortable with McCarron taking away starts from Igor Afanasyev.
No.
But there is one player that's probably a little unpopular on my list that I think they would rather swap out Garyanov and put in Kiefer Sherwood. And I want to get your thoughts on that. because that was hard for me because I like me some Kiefer Sherwood.
I do too.
That was hard for me. I had to really think about it. And I think it's going to be a touch and go thing. You might start Garyanov the first couple games, see how it's working, and then you might say, let's get Sherwood in here because we know what we got in Sherwood because he did it last year. So that's a risk on my part. I really wanted to put Sherwood in there, but at the last second I said, no, I'm going to put Garyanov in there at least for the first game.
Sherwood was another one of those players last season that was super exciting to watch. Like, he would go out and give his all, and that's exactly what you want to see. And whenever he would score or whatever, he was so excited, like more than normal. And it was just, that's tough. That is tough because he's a good player. And like you said, they know what they have in him. That's interesting.
So it sounds to me like you might lean more towards Sherwood over Garyanov because I think that's one of the biggest training camp battles we're going to have is I know they're not going to promote it that way, but I'm just thinking, I'm reading between the tea leaves here, Sherwood and Garyanov seem like two roster bubble starting players,
right?
Who one player is going to be a healthy scratch, the other one's going to be a starter in Tampa.
Yeah, I think you're right in saying that they'll start with Garyanov for sure because he's experienced. But I don't know. It's tough. It's the age old problem of who you got so many players where you're going to slot them all in. So.
And then it's not as complicated, but I do want to get your thoughts on this. Let's move to the defensive side of things. I will quickly list off my defensive pairings real quick because we can get through that a lot quicker than the forward lines. Big question, and I don't know your thoughts on this. I don't know what you're going to say here. We know Roman Yossi's going to be starting on the left side, top pairing, but who do you pair with Riosi to open the season in Tampa? I want to go with Alexander Carrier. I want to give him that opportunity, and it's kind of going along the same theme that my forward lines already went with. I'm giving the younger players on this roster a chance to flourish out of the gate. And I know Carrier's not a young buck anymore.
Yeah,
he's starting to get up to his upper 20s, but he's still young in terms of NHL experience.
Yeah. Yeah. That's who I would pick. That's who I would go with as well. Carrier. He's like a Roman Josi-ish sort of player, but I think they would pair well together. They've played together a lot, so I think they got a little bit of chemistry. So I think that would be good.
And you want a little chemistry in that first game. You want a little past chemistry. You don't want to come into that first game just completely all new players playing with new line mates and just hopefully you work out the kinks in the preseason, but you can only do so much in the preseason. Right. You're not going to really know until you get there and you get in that regular season game and you get on the road in Tampa, a very tough place to play.
Oh yeah.
You're not going to know till then. So you want some chemistry that's already been built in past seasons. So I would think that that's the safest bet is to start Carrier on the top pairing. Daily face-off, they do the line combinations. They last updated their website on August 24th. I looked it up today. They've got Luke Shen on the top pairing with Roman Josi.
Okay. That's interesting.
That's not something I'm crazy about. I'm not saying it won't happen.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's weird. I was going to have him be like third pairing.
Well, that's where I'm at with it. So
with Fabro, or it'd probably be Fabro. I would say.
I think it's going to be Jeremy Lazan.
Oh, well, yeah, you're right. Because you got obviously Ryan McDonough. Man.
Oh, your second pairing has to be Tyson Barrie and Ryan McDonough.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's a really, really solid second pairing.
That is there's like no questions about that one. Like one of the, I'm not saying it's the best second pairing, but I would put it in the top half of the league. One of the best second pairings you could throw out there. Yeah, that's good. Mm-hmm.
Let's get our friend Zach's in. We haven't seen him in a while.
No, it has been a while.
Let's see. Who are we saying pair him with? Who is the him?
Yossi, I think. He'll lay it down.
Lay it down. Oh,
Yossi.
okay.
Yeah. So like
Yossi Zach likes Luke Shin. Okay.
Yeah. That's good.
That's a good way to look at it, Zach. I like that. Yossi took too many hits last season. He'll lay it down on whoever hits Yossi.
Yes.
Interesting.
That's good.
Some other good comments coming in here. A lot of comments. Y'all are pouring them in. We love you. Shashkatooth Tiger is in. Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Happy to have you. So happy to have you. Nikki jumps in on the Garyanov talk. She's a Dallas Stars fan. She knows. She knows her Dallas Stars very well. Garyanov has a hell of a shot. He can shoot it up high and nails goals in the clutch. That being said, he goes cold sometimes. Yeah, that's kind of like what I hear about Garyanov is he hasn't grasped being a full-time hockey player. He has the talent, but he just can't put it all together. Maybe some new scenery here in Nashville. Maybe he comes into the season a little pissed off, a little we want this whole team to come in this way.
Absolutely, you do.
We want Philip Forsberg to come into the season this way. We want Roman Yossi to come into the season thinking this way. We want this whole team to have that mentality. That's when the Predators used to be their best, was when they played that underdog role. And I feel like ever since they won that President's Trophy, they walked around like their stuff didn't stink. And then guess what happened? They lost in the first round of the Dallas Stars in 2019.
Yep.
Let's get back to the good old days where this team walks around feeling disrespected, feeling like, you know what, I don't care. I don't want anyone talking about us. You know, it's funny, Rich. So I was on the Hockey Podcast Network on their YouTube channel, did a Central Division preview, and they brought all the hosts in from all the different podcasts on the network. And so all the other Central Division hosts picked the Predators unequivocally to finish third in the division.
Really?
And it scared me.
We're rough on our team, aren't we?
I didn't like it. They were all so much higher on the Preds than anyone in this fan base is. And that's hosts from the outside looking in who cover other teams. They all were in solidarity that the Predators are their third place team in the division behind, obviously, Colorado and Dallas. And they were really, really down on Minnesota. A couple of them even picked Minnesota to finish like 7th or 8th.
Oh, wow.
But that's a story for another day. But yeah, it was just interesting to see. It was interesting to see other people's perspective from the outside looking in, looking at your team.
Yeah, it is. We're rough on them. And we're a little rough on them. We are rough on them. But, you know, it is what it is.
We're getting a lot of love for Yakov Trenin tonight, and he deserves all the love. Shashkatooth Tiger says, I'm with you, Michael. Trenin is one of my favorite players we've got.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to see him go. No doubt about it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just trying to prepare people for it.
Yeah.
All right. So we feel really good about the second defensive pairing, right? Tyson Barrie and Ryan McDonough. Of course, the whole scenario around Tyson Barrie is just looking ahead into the future, of course. If he improves, if Tyson Barrie has a really good first half of the season and he helps this Preds power play be really productive and he kind of leads in a way behind Yossi's line and kind of leads the way and plays really well with Ryan McDonough, he's going to really improve his trade value. And do you really think the Predators are going to risk losing him in the offseason? No, they're probably going to unload him and get a decent return.
Yeah.
He's got to be your top trade candidate for next trade deadline, looking way ahead. Yeah. So all you're hoping for from Barrie is that he plays with that mentality.
Yeah, on a Barrie Trotz Predators team, I could definitely see him getting traded.
Yes. So Tyson Barrie's going to be thinking about that as well. He's not going to just be thinking about the team. He's going to be thinking about his own personal future. Mm-hmm. And if you're Tyson Barrie, he's going to be extra motivated to play very well. And if he plays well, that's obviously great for the team as a whole. Yeah. So going to be interesting to see how that goes. Third pairing, I battled about Dante Fabro, but I've been very clear that I do not understand why they went out and got Luke Shen and tied up money in him. I know it's not a lot of money, but I don't get it. It's not going to make sense to me until I see the results on the ice. But I do not understand why this team went out and got Luke Shen.
The only thing I can think of is the experience I know. It's weird, but they got Ryan O'Reilly. He's got that Stanley Cup experience. They got McDonough, and then Luke Shen now. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
Liz says, nope, Liz. Not even thinking about trading Barry. I like him too much.
Me too. That's what sucks.
He is
about
very likable.
Hockey. And that's what us as Predators fans, we're going to have to get used to that, because it didn't happen much in the past, but now it's probably going to be happening a lot more. Losing some guys that we like a lot, because Barry Trotz apparently doesn't play around.
No, he doesn't. So, but with Shen in the mix, let's get back to that. Shen's in the mix. You're seeing some people say, like Zach says it in our chat here. He says, put him on the top line with Yossi, which could happen. But I've got Luke Shen on the third pairing, and because he can really, really, I like him as a third pairing defenseman. He makes a little too much to be a third pairing defenseman, which is also why I don't understand why they got him in the first place. But just me looking at it the way I want to see it, he's on the team now. You went out and got him. If he's on your third pairing, he's probably your best third pairing defenseman you've had in a long time. Going back to Lucas Spiza. Oh, got the reference.
Oh, Lucas
Spiza. But yeah.
Well, so Luke Shen did have more points than Dante Fabro last season. Just saying.
Also, no pun intended, but we went from a Luke to a Luca.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Didn't even mean to do that.
Luca Spiza.
All of our loyal Catfish on Ice listeners know that we will always figure out a way to mention Luca Spiza in every podcast, even when it doesn't make sense. And it almost 99% of the time never makes sense to bring up Luca Spiza.
That's right. We can call it
we're still gonna find a way. Luca Shen.
Luca Shen, just for giggles.
Luca Shen. That sounds
this guy? Who is this guy? Who is that?
Oh,
man. Oh, I miss you so much, Kyle. Fabro on the 83rd pair. That is.
Yeah, that's fair.
Kyle's not a fan of Dante Fabro, as we know.
No, that's very well documented. We miss our buddy. We're going to get Kyle on. Come hell or high water, Kyle Perkins will be on the podcast. I will miss a week of work if I have to.
Yeah,
Kyle Perkins will be on this podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
Kyle Perkins will be on this podcast when we get into the season. We got to get him on here. We miss our buddy so much. He jumps on here and says, "Miss you, fellas." And dude, we love you so much, man. I hope you're doing good. But yeah, Fabro on the 83rd pairing. That is Kyle Perkins's hot take of the night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something tells me if you're on the 83rd pairing, you're probably not going to make it into a game, but I don't know. What do I know?
That's all right. That's all good. All good.
Shashkadu Tiger says, thought the main reason we got Shin was to be Yossi's bodyguard. Maybe I'm wrong in all that. Maybe you're right. Daily Faceoff has Shin on the top pairing with Yossi, so we'll see. I just don't like it. I would rather Carrier be up there, but we'll see.
Yeah, because then where do you put Carrier?
I mean, you've got a lot of right-handed defensemen right now, so someone's going to have to switch sides, and if that's the case, yeah, it's rearranging the deck chairs basically. I'm just like our buddy Kyle. I'm not high on Fabro either. I think he's good as a third pairing defenseman. He can play defense. He can do some good things. He's never lived up to anything in terms of offensive ability. He makes a lot of very glaring mistakes in really bad moments in games. Yeah. And I'm sorry, but we've been pretty patient with Dante Fabro.
Very, very patient. Yeah, for sure. you think about it, if you move Alexander Carrier down to the second line, then you don't have Tyson Barrie and Ryan McDonough.
You're not going to put Tyson Barrie on the third pairing.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You're not going to put Ryan McDonough on the third pairing. So your second pairing is pretty set, you would think. So it's really a matter of who plays on. I mean, it's a matter of Carrier and Shin. Do you put Shin on the top pairing and put Carrier on the third pairing? That's it. Your third. You don't want your Carrier doesn't fit a third pairing defenseman role.
No, he's too good. Not that
and that doesn't even feel like a good match at all. Carrier with Lazan is a weird match. Carrier with Fabro I actually like more, but still is weird to me.
Yeah.
And then I also wouldn't completely forget about some of the prospects we have down there who got playing time as defensemen. And my big one is Spencer Stastny. I think Spencer Stastny will eventually work his way back into getting some starts. I don't think he's going to start right out of the season, but to start opening. But Spencer Stastny, remember that name. He's not going anywhere. I'd be comfortable with getting him back up in the lineup as well eventually, if there's room for him.
And everybody's really high on Luke Prokop too. He's really, really good player as well. So he'll be wanting to make his presence known in training camp.
You can't have your best player taking hits like Yossi did last season.
That's true. That's a very good point.
Very, very good point.
Because we can't have him getting knocked out for 3 months again.
All right. And we know the goalies are set. It's Saros and Lankinen's crease once again, with Yaroslav Askarov's going to hopefully get a full year of AHL duty. I think we're all in agreement here that Askarov needs another full year in the AHL to really develop.
Yep. Or he's going to get traded.
And just like we said last year, Lankinen could end up being a trade bait person. It all depends on where the Predators are at when the trade deadline approaches. And that's something we can't predict until we get closer to it.
Yeah, for
obviously.
Sure.
But Askarov could be trade bait. Saros is still not out of the realm of possibility. You have 3 goaltenders who are all good quality goaltenders that teams would like to have. You're not going to keep all 3.
No.
So something has to give there eventually.
I think if anything, they would – well, I don't know. I started to say I think if anything, they would trade Lankinen and bring up Askarov, but they might be able to get a haul for Askarov. So who knows? Who knows? Who knows?
We don't know. We
don't
know.
We do not.
All right. We are going to wrap up episode 196. We got this live portion in. Very thankful for that. Have some awesome people in the chat tonight. It's really been
so much.
Just so refreshing to see all these familiar faces, and you've got all these people joining in, talking hockey with each other. This is what this podcast is all about. If you're listening on Spotify, on Apple, if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't gotten in on our live episodes yet, don't be shy. Get in on the Catfish and Ice community. We have so much fun, and it gets even more fun when the season starts because we have live watch-alongs. We watch the game together. We react to the game together while it's happening.
That's a blast.
We also have our hearts broken together during these watch-alongs.
Yes, we do.
Maybe one of the biggest heartbreaking moments in Catfish on Ice history was when we were watching the Colorado Avalanche series live and watched the Predators get eliminated and get swept.
Yep.
That was the last episode before I moved to Florida. So that one's always going to be infamy for me.
Or the one where when UC Saros got hurt, I just remember Kyle Perkins' face. He was just like no. It was just
Zach says we need Catfish on Ice hoodies and hats. We do. So update on that. I've actually made a connection down here in Florida with a guy who is become a good friend of mine who makes merchandise. Going to get linked up with him in a couple weeks and get quotes on prices and things I can do because we need some new merchandise. Zach hit it right on the head there. Catfish and Ice hoodies. I know Rich would be all about that.
Oh, yeah, I love a good hoodie.
I don't really need hoodies down here in Florida, but I love hoodies. I love wearing hoodies, though, so I'll wear one. Hoodies, we're going to get some new hats made. This guy makes some really good hats. I've seen his products. So stay tuned for that. Try to do some giveaways. We'll try to do some contests. We'll throw out some good merch. Want to get some stickers made as well. I know people like to do the stickers these days. So we got some stuff in the works. Just like the season's about to get started, Catfish on Ice season's about to get back into full force as well.
Getting closer.
So we got a couple more weeks to get through before the season really gets ramped up on this show. But we appreciate you sticking with us throughout the off season, through the dog days, through the slow months where there's not a lot of talked about. And so guess what? You just have to listen to me and Rich ramble all the time.
Yep.
But we love you for it. We love you for it.
Oh, absolutely.
And we will see everybody soon. Again, if we have any listeners in the Florida area in the path of this hurricane, we send you all of our best wishes and prayers that you stay safe. We have listeners all across the country. So I know we have some listeners down here in Florida as well, because I've seen those listeners before. And we just hope you're doing well. And we're thinking about you. And until then, everybody, we will keep you updated on when a new episode comes out. If we don't do a live episode in the next week or two, we'll definitely get something on the YouTube channel. So that's another reason to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because when we don't do live episodes, we definitely put it on the YouTube channel. So until then, everyone stay safe and take care. Be kind to one another.
Please.
And we will see you soon. Thanks for joining us. This has been Catfish on Ice, episode 196. With DraftKings and Raycon as our sponsors. Take care.
Have a good one.